Hey, I'm Sigaty. I'm the production director on the StarCraft 2 team. Chaos organization. So the way I explain it normally to people is, as production director, I'm the project manager. I work very closely with Dustin, and it's a paired opportunity. I mean, we share responsibilities across the tactics of how we're going to execute against everything we have going on, and there's a lot going on that the public doesn't necessarily see. Like Blizzard All-Stars is probably the biggest one that's not really out there yet. We'll be talking about it soon, but tactically, what is the team working on? We have really important resources that we have to decide, are they going to go towards some particular feature for StarCraft 2, Blizzard All-Stars, other things that we have in the works. And then there's a bunch of other great people in the team throughout, all the way down to the people who bring the meals to us when we're crunching at night. So there's, we spread that responsibility. Me personally, I'm trying to organize all of that from a production standpoint. The artists, what are they working on? The programmers, what are they working on? Designers, etc. And a lot of times it does feel like organizing chaos. StarCraft 2 is about 75 right now. We're growing with Blizzard All-Stars in the works. I personally, the production team on the StarCraft 2 team is 8 right now. So that's a basic breakdown. It depends. It depends on their skills. It depends on what they're interested in doing. If it's an art, somebody that's very good at drawing or art, 3D skills, then they want to come in through that path. And we have lots of job opportunities available. There's some particular jobs that we find particularly hard to fill. Right now, specifically server engineers are something that we're looking for all the time, and I think every company out there is. But that, those are jobs where basically resume in, it's going to get looked at almost guaranteed. If you just love StarCraft 2, it depends on where your passion lies. Like I was giving the art example, but if you don't really know and you want to get involved, probably the best place, and we've taken this several people onto our production staff through both quality assurance and customer service. So you can apply to those positions, get involved, show your passion for it, and then generally get a job on the team after a lot of time. But there's a number of people vying for those positions. I don't even know the exact numbers off the top of my head right here. Each region has a series of servers. StarCraft 2 is one of the cheaper games we have as far as number of servers required because of the network infrastructure of it, but we pale in comparison, for example, to World of Warcraft or even D3, where a lot of the calculation takes place on the server itself. But it's still a reasonable number. Nobody has this sitting in their house, or unless they're multimillionaires or something. But yeah, I couldn't give you an actual number. I actually watch a lot of StarCraft 2. I'm particularly passionate about esport. I'm definitely not hardcore on that front. Certainly whenever there's any big event coming up. My biggest challenge right now actually is, for watching StarCraft 2, is there's so much content out there. How do you find the right content to watch? So for me, it's generally, it's around particular events that are leading up to something that we're going to be involved in that I watch. And then I play. So if I have the choice, I choose to play over watching, although there will be particular games that get circulated around the team, and I jump in those to watch. Like I think Dustin earlier was talking about the game between, and I always screw this up, I say parting, but it wasn't parting, and MVP.
Squirtle.
Yeah, Squirtle and MVP, where he did the toilet bowl, and it was just insane. But that did the rounds, and so I get a lot of the games I watch end up being that, you gotta watch this amazing move or whatever. That's a great question. As far as skill level goes, it varies. We have some people that are great. They're high diamond level players. I don't even want to say what level of player I am, but I still play, which is, I think, an important part of it. The thing we really focus on the team is engagement in it. How much are you even aware of it? If you're working, coming in each day, doing your work, and not even looking at StarCraft 2, I think that, and there are people that do that, and that's fine, but it's preferred for people to have some level of interest in it, because you're looking at the game in a different way. You're seeing it at a day-to-day basis, looking, this is annoying to me, let me fix that issue. But anyway, going back to the skill level, it varies, and I probably represent the bottom 1%, and then it's on up from there, so I won't mention what that is. Yeah.
Battle.net is something that's been undergoing, I want to say undergoing a lot of changes, but really it's just been under a lot of scrutiny. What kind of major changes can we expect to see soonest development? Like, what are the big things that we have coming?
So the biggest thing coming up is patch 1.5 is our arcade patch. It's really a whole new way custom game is being shown off. The whole UI is changing so that this pretty important part of what StarCraft 2 is, based on what Warcraft 3 was before it, this creation engine, that these really cool games are brought up more to the surface so people know they exist if they're new to this to the game in general. So that's the big change, and what that means is we have an app-like functionality to custom games that will be in StarCraft 2, and that's coming very soon. We're in beta right now. We're probably a few weeks out. We should have it sometime in July, would be my guess. Beyond that are all the changes that we're making for Heart of the Swarm. The beta would then follow. That would be an invite-only based beta, but from that there will be a number of changes throughout the UI. And I've talked about a few of these things in a blog post I made a few weeks back. Clans and groups is probably the biggest one that everybody's been talking about. We've got a couple of other features that are designed to help in situations where a game ends prematurely. Resume from replay and multiplayer replay, so you can watch together with a friend. The resume from replay is probably the thing that excites me most. The idea of watching and then being able to take over from a particular point in replay is really powerful. I think it could spawn all sorts of new training methods, things that can, I think, help grow the community and help those people who feel like, you know what, I can watch this game, but I don't know that I could ever play, or I don't think I'll ever get there, so what's the point? Maybe through some of this functionality from Resume from Replay we can provide, or the community can provide great trainers, that sort of thing. So we have an internal hacks team that goes investigates, especially when they're reported. They go investigate how they work, and then we detect and try and get rid of players that would abuse that off the service. And we have an escalation routine. We're actually reviewing that whole system right now, basically Blizzard-wide, not just for StarCraft 2, but in general, for how many strikes does it take before a person is considered, you know, really they're not helping the community, they're hurting it, so get rid of them. And becoming a little bit more consistent with that. Anyway, so we're familiar with what things are out there. When we find them or when they're reported to us, we don't spend a lot of time trying to find very niche or hidden hacks that are there, but it's really, it is important to us that these services is as secure as possible, and that the play experience is as fun as possible. So I know there's been some recent things where players claim various people are hacking or whatever, and then we have to go and investigate it manually. We don't have a staff set aside to do that. So when the community sees this, the way that we're best able to deal with it is reporting it to us so that we can try and look into the issue as well. But we don't have people, you know, paid on an hourly basis to go review these things. Yeah, well, I was following Supernova for a while because I'm a Terran player myself. Yeah, I'm sorry. User?
Woo-woo.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But you know, ultimately, it comes back to the big games. When you watch, DRG was phenomenal at one of the most recent events. He was unstoppable, totally bringing out the Worldwide Wrestling Federation old school tactics to the game. It was really fun, and he was super nice afterwards. But it makes it fun seeing a player like DRG who's at least doing a little bit of fun smack talk. I always fall back to MVP, who's been standout since the get-go, basically, with StarCraft 2, as GSL has been coming up. So those are three of my favorites. As far as teams, I don't know that I have an identity with a team where that's it. This team has to win. My coolest team story, though, was there was a recent event out in Vegas, and there were it was a GSTL event actually taking place in Vegas, and it was just amazing to me. Such a phenomenal experience to be sitting in the US in Las Vegas with two Korean pro teams marching down the aisle, flags in the air, and people were going apeshit. I don't know if you can put that in, but they were going crazy, and it was just getting nerd chills totally just watching this take place, and everybody was going wild, myself included. And I had the unique opportunity of being able to sit behind, and I'm going to butcher this, but Marine King's team, and I'm not sure what his team is actually, but And it was just a great experience seeing these players go up there. I freaked out. There was the 14-year-old, it wasn't Leenock, but it was
Maru.
Yeah, it was Maru, was sitting right in front of me, and he came down. He just played 2 amazing games, lost the second game, and I said, "You did a good job." And he looked up at me like, "Are you an axe murderer?" So, but just so cool to be a part and see the community grow the way it is. And these players for me are, it's hard to describe. They're like an amazing musician, you know, for just seeing that level of skill. So. There's a few things that we look for. One is good balance, and sometimes we've seen this happen across the first couple of years here of what the community thinks is good isn't necessarily always what we think is good. And we've seen the maps getting larger and larger, but it is important that they're racially balanced. And sometimes it's difficult to determine that early. It has to go out there. That's why we do change the maps up season to season to season, because we see a trend. We hear complaints from the community. We hear about a map that used to be in there that they love, and so we change it. But first things, the primary thing is balance. Secondary is it needs to look reasonably good. If we just did it flat, there is a skill to touching it up in the right way and getting the right doodads and things in place. Sometimes some of the things we've seen come from the community have had some really, for us, crazy use of doodads, or it'll have a Protoss related element that's somewhere just in an awkward place that doesn't make a lot of sense, and that stuff for artists, I can't believe they did this. But I think primarily it's balance first, followed by making sure it has some level of artistic value as well.
What's your favorite map, like just to watch or to play?
Pass. Not gonna answer that one.
No problem.
I don't even, honestly, I mean, I'm actively playing the game, but I don't even know the maps by name when I play, other than what I think my tactic will be on the map, but I don't look at the map name as I go into it. We want to make that, I think, a part of this. We want to make sure we are listening to, it forces us to listen. A lot of times we get so distracted with what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish on multiple fronts, that we're not listening, or are listening but aren't able to address it. That we want to make sure that a part of the map pool cycle includes community developed maps. We even have one right now that, I think it's Daybreak, I want to say, that has gone back and forth. We want to publish it as soon as we can, but there continue to be performance problems with the way it was laid out, so we keep going back to the developer to make changes. So we're actively doing that. I think that's going to be a part of the process for the foreseeable future, that we continue to involve the community. History of StarCraft 2. You know, there was a recent event out here in Anaheim that I was at, and I was sitting with Grubby, who's a Warcraft 3 player. And my relationship with Grubby goes back to the very first WWI out in Korea. And for me, it was an epic moment because here's this guy that was, I think, 16 or 17 at the time, playing Warcraft 3. I had this kind of almost latch on to him. He was latching on to me, I was latching on to him. He spoke English, and that was like the beginning of the relationship. And very cool thing out there, but grew this relationship over time, and watched Grubby as he finished playing Warcraft 3 and started converting to Star 2. It's a little rough in the beginning, but his skill has gotten fantastic. I'm not even sure how old he is at this point, but we were just having this we were reminiscing about that, and it was such a cool moment to see that he could do that, and that there's that much, not just from the community of following players like this, but even the players themselves are coming along and are making something out of this over time. So that's my most recent StarCraft 2 memory beyond the nerd chills I mentioned before, that happened with StarCraft 2, and it still floors me that he's such a great guy to be able to come through that, and there's a lot of other stories. This is just my version of it. So. Well, it's a loaded question to ask me if I was a big fan of Warcraft 3, because I worked on it, and I worked on the Frozen Throne as well, and I loved watching pro matches of Warcraft 3. There were some aspects of it for me at the time that I liked I hate to say this on a StarCraft show, but that I enjoyed more than the original StarCraft because of hero tracking was much easier to tell. That was a big moment, but you still have the strategic elements of something like StarCraft. With StarCraft 2, I've kind of come around the opposite way, but yeah, I loved watching and still have very fond memories of the games from Warcraft 3. Is there a chance for Warcraft 4? Absolutely. There's definitely that. We go through cycles where we finish a project and say, what are we going to do next? For the foreseeable future, we've kind of stacked our cards. We have our deck. It is, Blizzard All-Stars is what's next. But what's beyond that, who's to say? But I certainly, yeah, I can't. It's not a no. I'm saying there's a chance, but when